Hello everyone, I'm Tyler Rosado, and this is the DIVA Checkpoint. This is your go-to stop for bold insights, big vision, and real action from leaders across Circle K International. Each episode, my guests and I unpack what's happening, what's next, and how we're showing up to lead, with plenty of fun and maybe a little drama along the way. Without further ado, let's get into it. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the DIVA Checkpoint podcast. It is so great to have you back for another week of all things CKI learning and growing with us on the podcast. And this week, I have the pleasure of being joined by a fellow governor from this year's CKI governor class, and I'm talking about Michael Mullisky. Michael Mullisky is a dedicated student leader in the Kiwanis family, currently serving as the district governor of Circle K International in Pennsylvania. With a deep-rooted passion for service and leadership development, he also advises both the Wilkes-Barre Area Key Club and a GAR Memorial Builders Club, empowering the next generation of servant leaders across all levels of the Kiwanis family. Throughout his time in the Kiwanis family, he has also held many different positions, including Key Club Lieutenant Governor, PA Key Club District Secretary Treasurer, and Crestwood High School Key Club President. At King's College, Michael's a sophomore studying accounting and finance management. He's also the recharter president of his CKI club. Please take a chance to really dissect all that we go into, because we touch base on a lot of different parts of the Kiwanis family experience. And so I think there's a lot to take away from this conversation. With that being said, let's jump right into it. So, hello, Michael. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. I'm so excited you could be on the Diva Checkpoint with me. Um, I don't think we have ever had like a one-on-one meeting before. I think we've maybe passed like ships at different governor calls and things like that. But we haven't had the
Yeah.
chance to chat before, so I'm so excited for this opportunity. For not only myself, but for our listeners, tell us a little bit of your, CKI, Kiwanis, the whole journey, and how you've gotten to this position that you're in today.
Yeah, I mean, just starting with Circle K, we really weren't even thinking about joining it. Um, when I was on my Key Club District Board, I was like, ooh, a little weary some of like, is this going to be good to join? But I started last year. I started my club at King's, being the charter president again for like the fifth time there. The Kiwanis loves that. um, and I pretty much then talked to the governor and was like, "Hey, I would love to be back on the board." And the governor at the time, Ashling, she was like, "Yes, you could join the board, be a lieutenant governor." And then I got really more involved with Circle K than I was in Key Club. Like, I feel like just in this past year, I kind of have done a bit of everything on every level. Um, but we then decided at the end, we were like, maybe I'll take a spin at this, do the governor thing once. And we decided, like, yeah, let's, roll with it. So then we started back in April. And I'm actually like very excited about this upcoming year. We have a good district board. Um, Previous to Circle K, though, I was still in Pennsylvania in high school, and I was on the Key Club District Board, where the first year I was on it, I had about, I think, four divisions. So I oversaw a bunch of Pennsylvania, which I really loved to get to meet those people. And then we also moved up to Sec Trez our senior year of high school. And I kind of fell in love when I was in Key Club with the executive board kind of style. And I felt like we really had a lot of fun doing it. So I really enjoyed that. But yeah, we kind of just do a lot, I feel. Like I feel like there's never a moment where you can't just not do nothing in Circle K. That'd be blasphemous.
Right, right, right. No, I think that's always one of the biggest things, especially now in the governor role, speaking to a lot of key clubbers in not only the Carolinas, but and other districts that are going to go to college in the Carolinas. Their biggest kind of question is, well, what is the difference? I mean, I think they're very perceptive to the fact that there are the similarities, right? We do the service, and we're a part of like Kiwanis's larger K family. But then I do kind of like share that the biggest difference is you have that greater autonomy, which on the one hand means the greater responsibilities, but on the other hand, it's also, a lot of fun. To have more kind of just like authority over decisions, and you can get more creative with projects. So, no, I totally get what you mean. But um, I guess just to touch more on the Key Club side of things, what just take me through a bit more of what was special to you in Key Club that definitely probably helped you make the decision to leap into CKI.
I mean, I really think it's all the things I went through my senior year. Home club president at the same time was just ridiculous. I think there's a lot of things that go on in clubs, especially key clubs. Those are some crazy times. I have to say, like key club officers around divisions and stuff like that, they go through a lot. Um, Sometimes you get paired with some crazy people, and it's like, okay. But I just look back and I was like, you know what? I just went through all that. Why am I giving up now? Like, I'll just continue it. It can't be any worse than that. And I will say, like, okay is so much better. Like, I agree. Being able to like fully be like, this is how I want it. This is how the board wants it is the greatest thing. Especially when it comes to like, I know a bunch of these Kiwanis committees. Um, they are strict. When I went to Key Club Icons, I remember like all of the district board members that went to like Anaheim and Orlando or Georgia, sorry, they were all like, no, my ZA is gonna tweak if we're going out of the room at 11. And we're like, we're just gonna be sitting in the hall. But I feel like luckily with PA, there hasn't been crazy things like that. I'm so glad. But like I like that difference with Circle K where I actually know what's going on and I can see like everything. So I know what to do and what kind of decisions to make.
Right. And switching gears a little bit with just like involvement in the organization, I also understand that you're an advisor for two SLPs. Is that correct?
Yes. So my mom is the advisor of a key club. It's Wilkes-Barre area, so it's a pretty big school. And when I was a senior in high school, we both were competing our schools for membership. We were equal at the end of the year, which was crazy. I was like, come on. And then after that, I was like, you know what? I think I could get the club bigger. So I was like, I made it a personal challenge just to do that. And I kind of found a lot of enjoyment in mentoring the different officer teams. Like they have meetings weekly. So it's kind of like I got to provide a little bit of update from where everything is. And I also got to say, yeah, no, that kind of sucks what you're going through. Here's how I would say it's good to go through. Because a lot of the time, some of them really never thought of the most sane, stable ways to get through some of the problems that they see in Key Club. Uh, so I found enjoyment in that. And then last summer, as I was starting up my Circle K club and starting as an advisor and kind of having my grounding there, I was in the school in the summer walking around with my mom. And then she came up to her one friend who was the director of middle schools and volunteered me to advise a builders club. And that one's even crazier because like it's pretty much like they all do whatever they want. I kind of give them that opportunity to kind of find what they want to do in the club and say, okay, I want to do this service. And I incorporated more of the Circle K element of fellowship in there because I feel like, especially in middle school, I think a lot of them need that clean energy of no negativity. Like every time I'm in there, something crazy is going on. So just providing a like nice, calm, collected meeting like every 2 weeks. I love that part too. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that, I mean, as someone who's, gone through Key Club and now it's in Circle K, I mean, I feel like our number one benefit of all of our SLPs is the fellowship aspect, and even that kind of just ability to navigate interpersonal relationships. Yeah, middle school is a crazy time. I can only imagine the drama that would have ensued if my middle school had a builders club. But I think giving spaces like that where you can, navigate those experiences and navigate those feelings is a really important thing. So that's amazing. And so you also mentioned, yes, that you've kind of rechartered your CKI. So tell me a little bit about how, you kind of got your footing there because I know for us in the governor's position, our main priority is rechartering clubs and growing membership. And so it's easy for us to just throw out there, like, if you're at a school that doesn't have a CKI, let's get moving and let's recharter. But I know it's probably a lot more intimidating for other folks. So I guess what grounded you in that ability to do that, and what would be your advice to folks who might be on the fence about rechartering?
I would definitely just say you have to have an open personality to really get those people in. And anybody who starts a Circle K club, I think that that's a great opportunity for them to kind of explore that new kind of person of being open and talking to people and making those connections. And I really think anybody who wants to try that would definitely benefit from opening a Circle K club. Some of the things that I especially do is I think back to the Office episode with the terrible Wayne Gretzky quote of "You miss 100% of the shots you whatever," and I think back to that, and I'm just like, if somebody says I don't want to be in Circle K, well, you're a flop. You missed out on something good. Like, be so for real. And I move on to the next thing. It's always really about keeping that commitment and keep just going at it, and never really giving up, because one day it kind of will pay off. There's no reason to say the next person's not going to want to join, and just give up there. So definitely just being consistent and learning to be an open people person is something that will definitely benefit anybody who wants to charter for sure.
Right. And yeah, I know that that recruitment piece is so huge and probably the most intimidating part for people when they're considering rechartering a club. And I do always think that, I mean, at the district level, we serve so many clubs that we do kind of serve as like a generalist to everyone. But one thing that I really try to tell people is, you have the power to make your club whatever it wants to be. The club that at one school that maybe is primarily business related might look a whole lot different than a CKI at another school where you're predominantly recruiting like education majors. So I guess also just like cultivating unique club cultures is a big part of it as well. So, for someone who isn't familiar with Pennsylvania CKI, what would you kind of describe the, servant leadership culture there?
I will say, Pennsylvanians in every tier, Kiwanis, Circle K, and in Key Club, need the motivation. They need people who want to be there and help them. And that could be said for all around. But they need those people who will check back in and make that connection and say, "Yeah, I want to help you. I want to take a little load off of what you're doing." Especially our lieutenant governors, they will get a good idea of being the representative of the club at the district level. And they get to make formal connections as well as I make formal connections, and I make my entire executive committee make those connections with their respective offices. So they all know. I'm hoping everybody in Pennsylvania knows at this point, every single person at the district level is here to support them. We are all 100% reading every report, seeing everything that you need, texting you, emailing. All we ask is you respond back and you make that connection back, and you have to be motivated a little bit just to do that. So I would definitely say that's kind of a big issue in Pennsylvania overall. But it's easily fixed, which is great. So that's just a little bit about Pennsylvania.
Yeah. I think it's, the same here where we really like to emphasize, support and really finding ways, I think, to make relationships work between organizations is our key area. That has improved over the past maybe decade or so. Not only from what I've seen, but from what I've heard and what I like feel now as like a Carolina CKI member. I think one of the greatest benefits that I can tout to other districts in kind of focusing on culture and cultivating a positive like servant leader culture is developing visibility for CKI to Kwanians or to key clubbers and vice versa too. That way I think there's more understanding. We all can kind of rally behind common goals of, serving the world. So yeah, so that's really amazing. And I guess, looking ahead to this year, I know I'm very excited for this year. It sounds like you're very excited for this year. What are some of the kind of biggest like items that you are excited to kind of tackle this year with your governorship?
I know a bunch of it is making Circle K easier for the average member. I feel like when I was running my East Division last year, I felt like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of stuff going on, and people just don't really have the time. I think people need to realize that this is something that they can also do just in the background. It doesn't have to be your main personality. Like I struggle with that a lot, but definitely these people definitely need to realize, yes, I could still be a part of Circle K and do everything else. It's not that hard. So I would say definitely that's something we're tackling by cutting back on some things that might be not as good and economically standing to continue doing them in person, like our division rallies. We want to focus more on the one-on-one aspect, so we change that around and we change the budget to allow our LTGs to travel more to visit their clubs and make sure that they are known and seen about so that they can have our representation at the district level. So we've cut back on our rallies, we've cut back on our interpack, which is something I'm changing around completely. Um, I personally, I would never want to do a fall rally in person because I feel like, especially in the fall, there's a bunch of different things that are busy during the time of interpacks and fall rallies. And I think that one of the things that needs to be utilized more, especially now with our lower membership over the past 20 years, I think that they need to be used very strategically. So one of the biggest things we've done is fully just make it virtual, but we're not only just going to have it for Circle K members, we're going to have it open to all colleges in Pennsylvania who have anybody interested in just becoming a better leader. That person who's interested in becoming a better leader is going to turn around and say, I liked how many people were there and kind of excited about Circle K. Let me reach out and see how can we charter one. So we're not only just using it as a, grow together or kind of professional development thing, we're using it also to ensure that we have a strong membership and that people are wanting to be connected through Circle K. So that's one of the biggest things that we're changing. And from a lot of the feedback that I've heard, it's not going to be too bad for them because now they don't have to pay around like $45 to $55 for going out in the weekend to the woods. Because we mostly did our interpacks at camps and like nature, which I could tell you I'm not much of a nature person when it comes to camping. I like my walks to the park, but nothing where I'm sleeping on the ground. And then continuing out through the year, we wanted to put a bigger emphasis on our district convention. So that's the only in-person event collectively that the district is really sponsoring. And we've wanted to make that way just because we need people to get excited about district convention to say, okay, let me go and see what this is like. And then they bring back that stuff to the club. We wanted to bring that importance on, everything you learn at district convention is useful and you can bring it back to your clubs. So we made it the only in-person thing so people get the sense of it. We also have been like cutting it back to 2 days because we felt like 3 days was kind of long. Plus it ends up being cheaper for the people going for hotels. And we really just have been putting that thought into everything we've been voting on and planning for the rest of the year as the district board. So we definitely wanted to make sure that everybody had the opportunities to attend everything. Something is so much easier to attend virtually, especially in Pennsylvania with us being so long. It's really hard to meet up. So we really wanted to put the emphasis on connection over multiple different avenues throughout the year and not just 2 in-person events, two divisional events a year. So that's the biggest thing that I'm excited about is kind of making it easier for those members to then go to everything that they want to do and participate as much as they want. We're never going to get 100% of the people. So we're kind of glad to get at least a little bit more. So that's the first thing. And then I would say definitely just the excitement for the entire organization over compared to last year, really. I feel like there's a bunch of people who were like, yes, Circle K, but there's not the many people that would go on and do some things. And follow through. So I'm excited to see that a bunch of people are, excited to take on the step and grow the organization and help all these clubs and bring them back to a good spot. So people actually want to be a part of this organization. And then the third thing I would definitely say is I love working on boards. I've low-key kind of realized, I was like, okay, I know there's a lot of stress, but I feel like we're all trauma bonded at the end of the year. So then we actually all are like sad to see each other go. But I do love running a board. I meet with my district board members at least once a week, one-on-one. So it's kind of good that we get to have those connections and we can talk about the work and get some stuff done. And then there's still our times to, collectively just say, oh, what's going on with you and stuff like that. So I really do like working with a board, especially compared to Key Club. We only had three in-person board meetings and we'd have committee meetings. Circle K, we meet pretty much at least every month collectively, and I meet with them so frequently it's not even funny. Um, but those are some of the things I'm excited about for this upcoming year that really kind of motivate me to continue going and doing the things that we need to get done.
Yeah, I mean, I love that you're, putting an emphasis on virtual events. I think for me, that was a big thing that I wanted to tap into more just because it is such a no-brainer. We don't have as many costs involved with planning the virtual event, so it's kind of like it feels like a requirement almost of like we have this free option for a lot of people, so we need to take advantage of it. I think that's the biggest reason why, even pre-recruiting for this year, I wanted to have this, Fueling Fellowship pep rally for our returning members just to say like, we see you and look at all these other people who are returning from, across CKI world who are excited to, be leaders in their communities and serve on their campuses, without, not even having a real cost associated. Like it's such a simple like no-brainer. So I'm really glad that you are looking forward to finding success in that. And working with boards, I can agree, it's a lot of fun to, and it's that second layer, I guess, of, the interpersonal, connections is not only working with people in maybe like high pressure scenarios, but in a very organized structure of like a board, is very exciting. And I don't think, as many people realize that that dynamic is not the same as just any group of people working together. There's different challenges and different things. I love that you talked about meeting with your board members one on one, because I don't think that's everyone's style, but I will say I think that's my style. It sounds like that's your style. I know I've like added one on ones with my board members this year because I just feel like that's kind of a key opportunity to build, relationships with your district officers. It's also a great time to see what goals they want to work on, outside of the organization. I think, in CKI, part of the autonomy we have is that, yes, we can focus on our club goals and our district goals, but like, if there's something specific you want to get out of, this organization and your membership in it, by all means, say the word and we're going to find the way. I mean, no one ever recruited me on the basis that I would learn how to, do a podcast, but here I am doing a CKI podcast because that's what I want to do. And there's so many opportunities on a district board to find those little things that can still serve the club, but also serve personal goals. So I think that's amazing. And I guess one of the biggest challenges in navigating whether it's district boards, club boards, or just, being very committed to an organization like this is that sometimes it can be mentally taxing. There can be challenges there. I think the biggest thing that we talk about, especially in our generation, is just this concept of burnout. So I'm just curious if you've ever, dealt with that, and if so, like, how do you kind of mitigate that?
Oh, I feel like we're constantly dealing with it. I think it started definitely sophomore year of high school. Like, I always just said yes to everything. And especially like my sophomore year, I just had gotten back from, I know I'm gonna mention it like crazy. COVID. It was all virtual, and then I got back and I was like, I'll join that club, I'll join this club, I'll be in that club. Then junior year, I started, having all the APs, having crazy classwork, and I started being leadership in all these clubs, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And that I really think was the biggest burnout year I've ever had. But it's not something that you can just fully get rid of. It'll always be there, especially if you are taking the proper steps. Like I could tell you this past week alone, it was crazy at work. I had a lot to do with Circle K, and everything was just overwhelming. Yesterday, I fully went to the park in Wilkes-Barre and I painted some watercolors, did some like breathing exercises just to calm myself down. And then I went on like a 2 hour long walk. So, like, definitely getting that physical exercise in and kind of making sure you're mentally in check is something you need to do in order to keep staying at a consistent, steady pace. It's not like you're going to be able to get to do everything overnight. You always have to know, like, okay, I'm just not going to give up tomorrow and I'll get it done. That's really what you need to do is find that balance from not burning out and giving yourself the time that you need.
Right. Yeah. I mean, especially, us as governors, we part of this kind of like executive role is to carry so much on your plate. And I think for me, when I first started the role back in April, the I was having like I jokingly called them CKI nightmares, where it's like I would just wake up thinking about CKI like I was late to something or like I forgot to do something. And I had to step back because, for me, this organization and like doing service, that is kind of like my, mental health check-in and my, it replenishes me when, schoolwork is a lot or just other things like, in the world, there's, a lot going on in the world that sometimes can just feel like so much stress and that you don't have any say in it. So for me, CKI has always been this thing where, giving back to the community makes me feel good, helps like replenish me when I'm feeling down. And so I kind of had to check that and be like, well, I'm not being my full self if I'm letting, this opportunity to serve this organization I love, hinder me in some sort of way. So, you're definitely hitting on all the right points there. Um, I guess for if we might have some listeners who, are finding this podcast investigating CKI, especially these episodes are coming out in the fall season when we'll be having tons of new people on campuses, and we're going to have plenty of CKI members eager to recruit. So I guess what's one thing that you would tell someone about CKI, maybe something a lot of people don't know about CKI that might, entice someone to join?
Yeah, I really think that my biggest thing for chairing CKI is definitely the people you meet. Like I know for this year's board, I had to bring together a lot of people who have never worked together, and I think about how okay, this is new for them, and I love that they are growing and starting to learn and talk to each other. So just getting to meet new people, besides the regular people that you always are seeing, especially at college, like. I could tell you, staying around and doing the same thing every day is not fun. It really gets you down, I will say. And I really think that having a different set of people from who you might not ever have talked to or ever even thought about, really is kind of the best thing. Let alone just having that friend and that connection. But later on, just going back and networking. That's how I brought my entire district board together, as I said. Fully, I just knew every single one of them from Key Club, and they were not in the same area of Pennsylvania or even doing the same thing with each other at all. So they kind of get to meet new people. You can ask them to be on a board later on if you ever are in a district office and you're like, who can I get to help me out with this district board? You can go back and say, okay, I met this person from a completely different campus, 3,000 or not 3,000, but like 400 miles away. Let me text them and chat them up and restart that connection, especially if you haven't talked to them in a while. So definitely just that kind of aspect of the club is kind of the best thing you get out of it. There's nothing really that this club can't do for you, and that's the first thing that it always does, no matter what. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think another component too is the kind of career skills that you can gain from these organizations. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit. One of the perks of this podcast is that we're having so many people on, we're all studying different things, and yet everyone seems to agree that there is something to take out of this for, their career. So I'd love for you to touch on that a little bit.
Oh, 100%. So first of all, I'll just say from the Key Club side over to this, my Key Club sex treasure experience somehow landed me my first internship, which I was like, thank God, because I low-key wanted an internship bad. And I think that some of the career things that I'm pulling out from this is definitely, I mean, in my LinkedIn, I have future banking executive. So I'm getting a lot of how to make sure people are feeling good to work, and motivated and have the energy and like pride to even say, this is my work, this is what I want to push out, and getting them to have their collective ideas. So that's something I really am learning just from being governor. Is those executive skills that you would need to have in order to run a successful company. I definitely think some of the public speaking is something that I've been working on every year. I could tell you my first lieutenant governor speech ever back in sophomore year of high school, trash. I I was not a public speaker. And then I think I turned into a yapper from it. So I'm glad that I have that kind of interpersonality skill so I can communicate and talk with new people that I might not have met. Um, I also think that one of the things it's definitely teaching is just if it doesn't get done, then it's not on you. It needs to be addressed and that it gets done. People have those times where they don't have enough time to do everything. And learning to say, okay, that's good, that's fine. But also saying, how can I help you to get you caught up so you can come back when feeling refreshed and get chugging along. That's something that definitely is, I never thought I would actually learn something so niche, but it definitely is. It's interesting to see stuff be applied on future uses for sure.
Right. And I think the component of kind of rallying the troops and like being the cheerleader is like kind of like what you touched on of how to inspire pride in people's work, I think is the kind of biggest skill that I've felt myself just like developing in this governor role already, just a few months in, because that is such an essential for whatever career you're in, is having people that can inspire, growth or inspire change in an organization. Because the world is constantly changing, and if your organization isn't changing, it's going to be left behind, quite frankly. So I think
Mhm.
that's amazing. So yeah, so you know, changing gears a little bit here. I've been made aware that you're a Lady Gaga fan. Is this correct?
Yes.
Yes,
Oh my
so
gosh.
I'd love to know, first of all, thoughts on Mayhem.
My friend Kirsten is gonna kill me. I'm a very much 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011 Lady Gaga.
Hmm.
I really there's only a couple songs I'll listen to from Mayhem, but I love my oldies like Telephone got me good. Oh my gosh, I love that song so much. But anything from that era of like kind of Y2K glitzy pop kind of music. I don't know. Sometimes I find myself driving down the highway blasting it. Like literally speakers are gonna break.
Yes, and I think, prior to being governor, I was club president at my home club, and one of my favorite parts of a club meeting was opening up the YouTube, finding like the Y2K, like it would be called something crazy, it'd just be like Barbie Girly Pop 2 Y2K playlist, and it's just all the Lady Gaga hits and putting them on. And I'm sure folks by the end of the year were a little sick of hearing like every Lady Gaga B-side ever and all the songs, but it's that kind of, integrating your personality into how you lead, I think is one of the most critical parts of making those connections. So like if you knew nothing else about me, you knew that I loved some, pop music, specifically love some Lady Gaga, love some Beyonce. Yes, Telephone is amazing. And so I think a fun little game to play. You have all this experience on district boards. So we have our, governors, we have our sectres or, our secretaries and our treasurers and lieutenant governors. If you had to assign some Lady Gaga songs to each of these positions, what do you think you would assign? So like for a governor per se of like, a district governor of CKI or Key Club, what do you think is like their anthem? What's their song?
Oh, I God. So I would definitely put my lieutenant governors. I have to go applause because I feel like they just are always. I I gotta say, out of my district board, the lieutenant governors do more than anything. God's work, pretty much. I feel like they're constantly doing something different. Like I remember back to the music video, I was looking at that. I'm like, is that a goose? I could not understand what was going on in the music video because I wasn't able to fully pay attention when it first came out. Um, but no, they are definitely the greatest. I would say for editor, I would have to say paparazzi. I know it sounds so basic, but like I that's all my editor does for me constantly. Like she currently has scheduled text for Saturday's Kiwanis board trainer for me to take photos because I'm not good at taking photos of me being governor. I would literally will forget. I've been doing that for years, like constantly forgetting photos. But I definitely think that she's great at reminding me, and she also is doing amazing with getting social media started. Like, I know she's been working hard with getting posting done. And that's very much great. My secretary treasurer, gosh, give me a minute. I might have to look for one because so she goes to the same college as me. She was my key club vice president. So I've known her for since middle school actually. But I would say, let's see, she would definitely be. Oh, because sometimes I can't tell her. I really cannot tell what she's thinking if she's gonna quit in the next day or not. I would definitely say Poker Face. I feel like when I think
Mm,
about that song, I think of her being like, I can't read her. I can't read her because I know she loves doing it, but like sometimes, some days she's a little wild. She's a little wild card. And I could never guess what her next steps are gonna be ever. But that's how I kind of rank them for sure. Yeah.
yeah, that's so funny. I definitely feel like, I'd have to think harder on all my other, board positions. I definitely think like my governor anthem would have to be like Born This Way because like
Mm.
this is just like the quintessential role I think for my personality of like always wanting to, be the one talking or be the one organizing. So I feel like this, it just makes sense. But that's super amazing. So I'm glad to know another Lady Gaga fan amongst my governor class. It's a safe space, so I'm glad to know that. Before I let you go, one question that I ask all of my guests is, what is the biggest kind of diva moment that you've seen in, CKI, it could be Key Club, what have you, just a moment that was like really stood out either because it was a crowning achievement or maybe a little dramatic. What comes to mind as like a big diva moment that you've seen?
The first thing, and this is because I never knew I could use executive power to get what I wanted to do, especially for like non-important things and important things. But it was my first ever icon. We were in Anaheim, California. This was the first Key Club convention I attended. And it was me, the governor, I was the secretary, and then there was a lieutenant governor who he was going to be off the board, but he came because he wanted to go. And then we had this kid who was running for international trustee. Keep in mind, he was like 5'3". The governor was like maybe 5'6". And me and this kid, Braden, he's about 6'2" tall. This is the most diva moment of the trustee ever, like the trustee candidate. He said, I claim the bad. And I'm like, wait a minute. What? What? Because like, what do you mean? You're like 6 foot tall and you want me and Braden to sleep on a pull-out couch? Like, it's a king size bed. You're small. But I definitely think that moment always sticks with me when I'm like, do I want to use my executive power to get my way for this? And it makes me say, I'm never missing out on that opportunity again. Because he then, after that, went on to eat. I brought a 3 pound bag of Hershey Kisses to Icon, thinking I'll just hand them out wherever. You know, they're going to stay in my bag. He literally took them and pretty much ate half the bag the first 2 days.
Mm,
And he kept a little ball of, um, he kept a ball of the wrappers. I'm like, what? I feel like I'm being tortured by you. Like this is for the people, not you. So just that whole thing going on the whole week, I was like, and you would have never expected it from this guy, never. But very
always
diva,
always diva moments from those who you least expect it from. Oh my gosh.
definitely.
Well, thank you so much, Michael, for being on the podcast. I wish you plenty of luck with your governorship. And I can't even wait to hear just all the amazing things that'll be coming out of, Pennsylvania CKI.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was great.
Of course. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Diva Checkpoint podcast with me, Tyler Rosado. For more episodes, be sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. And hey, if you've got something to say, we want you to be a guest on our show. Head over to bit.ly/CKI podcast for more information. Until next time, keep leading loud, CKI.